point of view too far, need to zoom in. Ain't got no facts, you assuming. About to call on blue, the way you be cluing. Stay awake, not woke, I'm tuned in. Your point of view too far, need to zoom in. Ain't got no facts, you assuming. About to call on blue, the way you be cluing. Have we had enough of your lies for one night? Have we felt enough of our pain to know it's real? How do you feel? Sick and tired of the lies, all I'm feeling is the pain. It's the devil in disguise while I'm standing in the rain. Water pouring from the sky, but you tell me the opposite. Like I don't have a consciousness, like I'm stuck in the matrix and my brain's up for the taking. But we don't do that, I know my facts. They say that he was elected, but where the stats at? They say that jab the only way to get your life back. But if you have a heart attack, then they will go to hide that. Look at the FDA, acting like KKK, trying to run all our lives like we they brand new slaves. Lose the job, bent from playing segregation, all the same. They call themselves progressives, but they taking us all back again. Bring the world to darkness and sacrifice the children. Then when it's said and done, then you will never live with hope again. I say that we break the chains, we can't leave the world the same. Make love real again. As we fly above the truth, I ask of God, am I with you? I walk the path, go to the light, but still I feel that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. My name is Chandler Crump, and this is Crump Live, our twice weekly show where we cover all sorts of stuff. I do have to let y'all know that we have some updates to today's show. I previously spoke about something, and that something will not be happening this show. We're going to talk about all of that. But first things first, I gotta say good morning to Australia Day Every Day, who without fail has joined us for, I think, the last 4 shows. And I know that much. He's been here every single show this week. So let's give him a round of applause for that. And I think he might have joined us for quite a few of the shows last week as well, because that name is not going anywhere. And as the name implies, Australia Day Every Day is currently in Australia, and I think he said something like Perth. And just to give you guys some credit, Perth it's 8 a.m. over there. So he basically treats Crump Live like a morning show. Perth is a solid time flip. Like, it's 8:03 p.m. here where I'm streaming from in the East Coast of the United States. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. It's 8:03 a.m., so it's basically a morning show for him. He gets up, wakes up, you know, he's as he said, he's drinking his coffee, he's getting into it. So I appreciate him for that one. Thank you so much for tuning in with us, Australia Day. And the better question is, how are you tuning in to our 4 a.m. shows? How are you doing that? Because I know our show yesterday started at 4 p.m., as they do every week on Mondays and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. How are you up at 4 a.m.? Or do you just not go to sleep? I have to know. Also, same question for Dared. I don't know if he tunes into our 4 p.m. shows. Either way, that's my question for you, Australia Day. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're getting enough sleep, man. I really do. Anyways, we have a ton of stories we're going to be jumping into today. We previously were going to be joined by a great and fantastic guest, Alex Stein. Unfortunately, he had other prior things he had to take care of. So he will be joining us next Thursday, which gives us even more time to prepare some dastardly questions for him. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you tune in just a week for us to be live interviewing Alex Stein, Primetime 99, on this show here. But for now, of course, we have plenty of other things to talk about, including some fantastic breaking news, just really insane stuff coming out today about the Ashley Biden diary. It's, you know, how it came into the hands of Project Veritas and the people that are behind it. And then we're going to weave and bob it through a few other stories here as well that connect to it in such a way to show you how hypocritical the FBI, the DOJ, these dang judges, and pretty much everybody is when it comes to something that happens here and something that happens here. It's just terrible. Terrible. And Alan Vosk says, y'all get any wins on Fortnite yesterday? We did. We got 2 wins yesterday, so you can check that out over on the Geeks and Gamers gaming channel. As you guys may or may not know, we streamed some games last night here on the YouTube channel. We streamed Splatoon, and then I was joining the Geeks and Gamers for them streaming Fortnite. So you can check all that out on their channel and on my Chandler Crump gaming channel, which is linked to this channel in the featured tab. But either way, despite all of that, and without any further ado, it's time we jump into these stories because we've got a total whammy going on today. A pair has now pleaded guilty to stealing Ashley Biden's diary and selling it to Project Veritas. Now, you guys may or may not have heard about this story earlier this year. I think it was this year, maybe even late last year. It's been a long time coming. The Ashley Biden diary, which had some very, very troubling information in it about Ashley Biden and her relationship with her grandfather, Joe Biden, the current president of the United States. And this diary made it into the hands of Project Veritas, who then made a massive story about it, sent it out to every major news service out there, and a few did pick it up, although not everyone, because they'd call it Russian propaganda or something like that, which we'll link into with another big story in a minute. But it was a major thing that's just straight up madness, and eventually Project Veritas had their doors FBI, open up! Kicked in because of it. So Project Veritas's president or leader of it, I don't know what his exact role is, but James O'Keefe had his door kicked in by the FBI, so FBI, open up! And I believe a few other people had their doors kicked in, and although Thick Wrist is saying,
rub my leg down,
I don't think it was quite as peaceful as a good old leg rubbing down. It was quite a bit more like, they were doing some nasty stuff, stealing things and taking probably passports, I wouldn't be surprised, just to figure out how you got your hands on this diary, which you should not have. It is stolen property. Which technically, yes, but we'll jump into some of the double standards about that in a minute. 2 Florida residents have pleaded guilty to stealing the diary of Ashley Biden, who is Joe Biden's youngest daughter, and then selling it to the right-wing activist group Project Veritas, the Justice Department announced Thursday. Okay, so Joe Biden's youngest daughter. I thought it was granddaughter, but I guess that was a slip up on my part. I apologize. Joe Biden's youngest daughter. Can you blame me, though? Joe Biden is so old. And anyways, Amy Harris, 40, and Robert Kurlander, 58, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit interstate transportation of stolen property involving the theft of personal belongings of member of a then former government official for taking several items belonging to Ashley Biden in September of 2020. The charge carries a maximum of 5 years in prison. Kurlander has also agreed to cooperate with the government. Though Ashley Biden, 41, is not named in the court documents, a source familiar with the case confirmed they were her belongings. Harris and Kurlander stole personal property from an immediate family member, yada yada, we've heard that. They sold the property to an organization in New York for $40 grand and even returned to take more of the victim's property when asked to do so. That's kind of based, honestly. Biden had stored a handwritten journal containing highly personal entries, tax records, and a digital storage card containing private family photographs and a cell phone, among other things, in a private residence in Florida, where Harris was also staying. After she stole Biden's items, she contacted Kurlander, and they got in touch with a representative from Veritas. They met with the Veritas employee in New York shortly after, and they made a contract with them, the DOJ says. During that meeting, Harris described the circumstances of how she had obtained the property and provided the property to the organization. After the meeting, and at the organization's request, Harris and Kurlander returned to Florida to obtain more of the property in order to provide it to the organization. They were paid $20 grand each by Veritas after providing more of Biden's personal belongings, according to the DOJ. In a statement Thursday, Veritas said, Veritas' news gathering was ethical and legal. A journalist's lawful receipt of material later alleged to be stolen is routine, commonplace, and protected by the First Amendment. After the pair went to the house in Florida to steal more of the information, Kurlander sent a text to Harris saying they expected as much as $100 grand from Veritas for the additional possessions. They are in a sketchy business, and here they are taking what's literally a stolen diary and info and trying to make a story that will ruin the victim's life and try and affect the election. The victim can easily be thinking all her stuff is there and not concerned about it. We have to tread even more carefully, and that stuff needs to be gone through by us, and if anything worthwhile, it needs to be turned over and must be out of that house. The text message, according to documents. Of course, people suddenly care about it ruining somebody's life and it being an election when it's Joe Biden. Harris acquired Ashley Biden's property after she was invited to live there shortly after Ashley moved out. Biden stored her stuff at the property, according to the DOJ. That's just simple negligence. That's just simple old negligence, and we have heard of journalists stealing things, or later being regarded as stealing things after they gather information, and nothing coming of it, because, well, it was advantageous to the big machine for them to gather this information. But when it comes to maybe being an enemy to Joe Biden and the grand regime, well, suddenly, yeah. Nope. You can't do that. You can't do that.
it's no use.
You're not allowed. You get sent away, like these people are now. They're having to take a plea deal so that they can avoid way more prison time than just the 5 years that is currently on the table. So this is really bad for them. And I gotta say, I respect it, and I understand the journalistic piece of it, but they sacrificed a whole lot for it. So, you know what? I'm gonna give them a solid salute right there. Just straight up. Just. Even though the media categorically ignored the Ashley Biden diary, categorically ignored the Hunter Biden laptop, which we're going to be talking about some more soon, and did everything they could to wash Biden free of his sins and to boil the skeletons in his closet down to a fine little powder so that they could toss it out into the wind and have nobody suspect a thing. It's a very gruesome analogy, but it's also quite accurate, if I do say so myself. All of that and more we're going to be talking about as we continue on down the line of this show. But I do got to say, shout out to the folks who are tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button if you're on the way in. We've got this show going, and I think it's going to be a great one, so make sure you hit the like button. Australia Day says, make it every day, Chandler. Be proud and loud. Make it America's Day every day, Chandler. Be loud and proud. I got you. Thick Chris says, apparently Biden wants to sniff more than just kids. Oh my gosh, Thick Chris, your comments are off the walls. Nope. Can't read them. Cannot read them. I can't. Susanna says, watch Rich Little's imitation of Joe Biden on the Mike Huckabee show. I might have to. I might just have to. I don't know if any imitation will ever come anywhere as close as mine, but if somebody's willing to try, I'll give them a chance. I will. But now it's time we take a little walk back down memory lane. I think we should. All the way back to 2020. That was the part where we play that little thing you hear in sitcoms sometimes, where it's like, where you have a quick little flashback. Let's go back to September of 2020, around the time that these Ashley Biden diaries were stolen. The Trump tax returns were leaked to the media, specifically the New York Times, and it seems like no legal measures were discussed. Here is a headline from USA Today from September 29th, 2020. Trump tax returns are not just good for gossip. Here are 3 reasons voters should care. This was mere weeks before the Hunter Biden story was given to the New York Post, and weeks before that information got out there, detailing the presidential candidate's son's involvement with 10-15% to the big guy, allegedly his father, the presidential candidate, as well as his in and outs of rehab and the pictures he has of his cracked up teeth. Some of those looking like they were maybe even during pandemic times, considering he had his mask on. We got to see all that stuff coming along. But no, instead of talking about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, nope, let's talk about the Trump tax returns, which show that, oh yeah, Trump is a businessman. He made a lot of money. He did everything he could to avoid paying as many taxes as he could, which, dang, if my taxes were going towards student loan forgiveness and billions to Ukraine, I'd want to avoid as many taxes as I could as well, if I was as rich as Trump, or even in my current state. Not saying I will. The 87,000 new IRS agents, I will not be avoiding my taxes. I'll pay every last penny I need to. Thank you very much. But still, if I could, without any repercussion, or find some legal loopholes, I definitely would. I definitely would. So can you blame me? And could you blame Trump for doing what he did? But even despite all of that, there was no foul play in his taxes. Because if there was, they would have already thrown that man in cuffs. They would have already... FBI, open up! Mar-a-Lago, probably way back in like 2018, while he was sitting in the White House, they didn't care about no executive privilege. They would have done everything they could. They would have walked all up in Melania Trump's closet and done whatever they wanted to do, as Thick Wrist was hinting about a second ago. Because of the Trump tax returns, and he needs to go to jail, and he must be impeached and removed from office for the tax returns. If he had broken even a single law, had paid even a penny less than he could have without all the loopholes, anything of that nature. So there was nothing to look at with the Trump tax returns, and yet people lusted for them for years. The New York Times and all these pink hat wearing people marching in the streets, burning down Wendy's for whatever reason they deem necessary, also that they can get a hand on these tax returns. Meanwhile, when a story as big as the sun itself, if we're talking about in the scheme of politics, like let's say a major presidential candidate's son involvement with disgusting things that I don't want to say again for fear of my channel receiving a community guideline strike, all put together on a neat little bow of a hard drive, so all you little millennial journalists don't have to flip through files or anything. All you have to do is literally pick up a mouse and scroll. Use your eyes and read. You don't even need to be able to read. All you gotta do is you gotta use the dictation. Have the computer read it out to you. It's so easy, even a child could do it. And yet, all they wanted to do is call it Russian propaganda and say, no, we're not going to talk about that. Here's another article just from October of 2020, mere weeks after that last one, when the Hunter Biden story actually came out. This is from Mother Jones. They have it marked as disinformation, and the headline reads as, Giuliani and the New York Post are pushing Russian disinformation. It's a big test for the media. A very big test for the media. A very big test for social media companies like Twitter, who promptly suspended the New York Post from posting about the Hunter Biden story, of which they broke, and they stood by it and received threats on threats and condemnation on condemnation from every other media outlet, even Mother Jones calling it Russian disinformation. I don't even want to give these people the benefit of the day of my time to read this article. But I think it's very true when they say it's a big test for the media, specifically social media. How many of y'all use Facebook in your daily lives? How many of y'all are aware that Facebook was founded and ran by a gentleman by the name of Mark Zuckerberg, who still has quite a bit of power on the reins of Facebook? You may or may not have noticed in the last few years that Facebook loves to, I don't know, zap your posts so that anybody that's ever seen them tries to go back and see them. They can't see them. Well,
I don't know what I said. I
don't remember. It was never there. You just get, Thanos snapped off the platform. That's happened a good amount of times to you guys. It's happened to me as well. I'm sure we have some people who are in Facebook jail as we speak, or have had their accounts permanently deleted. Gone.
Nope.
Don't even remember.
It's no use. Go, you know the thing.
Gone off of Facebook, just like that. Well, this might be a pretty good explanation as to why that happened. On the Joe Rogan podcast, founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, decided to let it all out into the air that, that Hunter Biden story, we may have hit it because we thought it was Russian disinformation. I mean, Mother Jones said it was Russian disinformation. Why shouldn't we believe him? It's obviously a lie. It's all cap, right?
Stop the cap.
This is what these people believe. Let me fix this so you guys can see it a little bit. I don't know why it's all stretched like that. There you go. You guys got to see this, though. Just straight up insanity. Let's hear this.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like, there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
Yeah, we had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false.
Independent fact-checkers disagree with this post, Mark Zuckerberg, just letting you know.
And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful.
So there, from the horse's mouth itself, because I barely can regard Mark Zuckerberg as a human. You guys have all seen the robot rumors, and I don't think they're too far off. No, but in all seriousness, he admitted to, as in his own words, as he gets on the screen right there, meaningfully decreasing the Hunter Biden laptop story on his platform. Deboosting the news stories, deboosting average Americans sharing news stories or making their own posts about it. I wouldn't be surprised if one of my own stories that I posted on Facebook around that time could have been minimized because, well, hey, it's the Hunter Biden story, and, well, Mother Jones says it's Russian disinformation, so, yeah, you can't have that. Get up off the platform.
No.
Sad. It's sad to imagine that these mainstream social media companies think they can get away with this. They really think that we are going to sit by and let them ignore us, and even further than that, make it so that we cannot speak to our own people. Because every single person watching this show, and it says there's quite a few of y'all watching, but I know there's more people behind the screen, so every single person who is hearing my voice right now that has a Facebook account is another person that is a critical thinker, and more than likely can vote. There's a few things, few people might not be able to vote. Either way, the majority of you guys, more than likely, can vote. And Facebook reduced the efficacy of such an important story of the Hunter Biden laptop, so much so that some of y'all might have seen it and been like, well, I haven't seen a lot of people say it. I haven't seen this person who I usually see share these things that I believe it to be true, so maybe it isn't true. Or you just didn't see it at all until after you already pulled the lever. Now, I doubt many of y'all pulled the lever to the left and voted for Joe, but some of y'all that might have could have voted otherwise if you had seen this Hunter Biden story. And I have seen people on Twitter, aside from the crazy vote blue no matter who, I don't care who they've touched, I don't care who makes them blue, voters who be like, I'd vote for Joe Biden even if he had skeletons in his son's closet. Yeah, looking at you, Sam Harris. Literally, his words. But aside from those insane people that have been like, well, if I had known about this Hunter Biden story, I don't know if I had voted for Joe Biden. I probably would have wanted to do a little bit more research and find out a bit more about why this happened. About if this story could be true, and if I could trust to elect somebody who raised someone that ends up like this. Because your children are a reflection of you as a parent. Now, obviously, past the point of 18, if they have developments past that, or whenever they move out, whenever your influence on them decreases, obviously, it can't all be levied on you. But you are the physical embodiment of the seed, but you also plant the seeds for their personality, for who they're going to grow up to become, some of their interests, and of course, for some parents it weighs less, some parents it weighs more, but I know we probably have quite a few parents in here, quite a few people that have raised children. You understand this better than anybody else. And I think even Joe Biden understands this. I think there was a meme a little while back, or a story about Joe Biden being expressly disappointed with Hunter Biden for him finagling with his brother's widow. It's just awful and wild stuff, but we've got more to read about with this article here. Mark Zuckerberg tells Joe Rogan Facebook was wrong to ban the post-Hunter Biden laptop story. So it seems like after all this time, he's finally had a few regrets, even after we've had to deal with nearly 2 years of a Biden presidency. Well, thanks, Zuck. Thank you for finally admitting that maybe you weren't all so right. Zuckerberg admits that Facebook made a mistake over its decision to ban sharing of the Post-exclusive report on Hunter Biden's laptop ahead of the 2020 election. The billionaire CEO of Meta said he regretted Facebook's response to the Biden story during an appearance on The Joe Rogan Show podcast after the host pressed him to explain his views on how tech platforms should handle content moderation on subjects as sensitive as this. When something like that turns out to be real, is there regret for not having it evenly distributed and for throttling the distribution of it? Yeah, it sucks, Zuckerberg said. It turned out after the fact that fact-checkers looked into it. No one was able to say it was false. I think it sucks, though, in the same way that probably having to go through a criminal trial, but being proven innocent in the end sucks. I can think of somebody who went through a criminal trial and was proven innocent, but had to go through a whole lot of pain and suffering. Our boy Rittenhouse. In the end, he thankfully got to hold on to his freedom, got his freedom back. But unfortunately, at the end of a criminal trial, those damages don't go away. They rest on your soul for a long time, and that's evident to see in looking at people that have gone through such things, like Kyle Rittenhouse and many others. It is the exact same thing for a presidential election. So, Zuckerberg, sad as it may be, you aren't the person who were sitting at the bench and was crying when the judge and the jury read out not guilty. That's not you. No, you were the person on the other bench angry that the American people are finally seeing the truth. You're the one that's sad that as much as your platform did it, we have to deal with the consequences of it now. Because that's not going away. We're still dealing with it. We're still in the part we're waiting for us to finally be free of this terrible presidency and these terrible representatives and this terrible Congress. We're still waiting through. We're only halfway through. And it may even go longer depending on how badly the midterms may go. When we're looking at some polling that is very concerning. So Zuck, do you have any regrets past the intellectual, whatever it may be, truth of the matter? Or is it more about how your platform lies at the end of things? That's my question, and I'd love an answer. He said the platform opted to limit sharing on the story, but not halt it entirely, after the FBI told Meta employees to be wary of Russian propaganda ahead of the election. More than 50 former senior intelligence officers signed on to a letter that claimed the laptop story has all the classical earmarks of a Russian information operation. I'm starting to think that the FBI might need to be overhauled from the ground up, and if we cannot fix it, abolished. Because it seems that every single turn the FBI is involved in, they are betraying the American people, They are betraying one of their own presidents, and they are doing basically everything wrong that you could do in the book. It's like they were handed the FBI handbook, I know I said handed twice, flipped it upside down, closed their eyes, turned on a little dictation reader, and then set it to Spanish. Meanwhile, the only language they know is broken English. And sat back and listened as they licked some chocolate chip that also had some vodka mixed in, so that they could be as drunk off their minds and out of their minds as they possibly could be when being taught the wrong thing. And so no wonder they're showing up at Mar-a-Lago going like,
FBI, open up!
and no wonder they're saying, well, the Hunter Biden story, it's obviously Russian disinformation. It has all the earmarks of a Russian information operation. And that's why we need to vote blue no matter who. Vote for Joe, or you gotta go. It's all sorts of madness. I don't even want to continue on. Zuckerberg, I hope you know what you did. I really do. General E. Stone says, I used to vote Democrat when I was a low info voter. Really, it was the media lies about Trump that opened my eyes back in 2018. You know, and it takes a lot of courage to admit that you weren't even opened until 2018. I guess I would assume you may have voted for Hillary Clinton come 2016. There were a good amount of people that did. But I'm glad that, and this isn't even necessarily about Trump or anything. I'm glad that a lot of people are starting to open their eyes to just the true nature of things. They aren't just going to vote like a drone. And that goes for either party. There are a lot of people that, you know, they grew up in their community, their small town, or whatever it may be, whatever it have you, and are like, well, I always vote red. I don't care what it may be. Because we've seen a lot of examples, especially in primary elections, where they just vote for the incumbent, or they vote for whoever their mama tells them to vote for, because that's how it may be. And that's how you end up with somebody wearing a life alert going back to Congress for their third or fourth term. Meanwhile, we have young options that are firebrands, ready to get out there and speak the truth and make everybody mad, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thankfully, we're able to get Marjorie Taylor Greene into office, but unfortunately, sometimes you just let the same old person sit in office 10, 20, 30, 40 years like Mitch McConnell and not get anything done. So this goes to both sides. There can be drone voters. We all need to open our minds, do a whole lot more research, become high info voters, as General E. Stone says he has become, and really look into these people that you're casting your vote for. Because the only way we make our voices heard in this country, other than protests and marching, and even that may seem to be soon going the way of the dodo with the way they're sending people to jail for that nowadays. But the only other way aside from those is with your money, with companies, corporations, and with your vote, with politicians that work a whole lot like corporations, but they get your money regardless of whether you want them to get it or not. So they have a whole lot more power when it comes to how much money they get from you. And it seems like they can just raise the taxes whenever they want to, so that we can cancel student loan debt, send billions to Ukraine, and maybe pay for a couple more books about gophers changing their gender, so that your 5-year-old can know that there are 76 genders, but not really know what 2 times 2 is, because, well, that's just the nature of how things are these days. Nature things are. Australia This is, once I complained I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. General Lee Stone says, I didn't vote in 2016, couldn't support that criminal Hillary. Yeah, that's how you know, you really should not be running for anything. If low info voters are like, listen, I don't want to vote for Trump, he's racist, he's sexist, whatever, but I'm not voting for Hillary, that should tell you a lot. That should really tell you a lot. And let me get a few more here. Susanna says, I don't vote commie-crat. I like that. We got Maurice Delk in the building. He says, yo, what's going on, Maurice? Nice to see you in here. All my folks over on YouTube. All my folks over on Gitter and Rumble as well. If you guys can hear me on Rumble, say hey in the chat. I need to hear y'all. I need to see y'all. Happy Campers in the building. She says, hi, Chandler. How you doing, Happy Camper? I'd like to see you around here. Also says decrease because they started banning all of us. Yeah, on Facebook, they did. They really did. That's why their shares are starting to drop. That's why they're suffering. Their user numbers are probably not growing as fast as it used to. It may even be shrinking. I don't have all these on the top of my head, but it's some madness. It is some madness. Anyways, we have a ton more stories to jump into, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who after her swatting on Wednesday evening was once again, Wednesday? It was Wednesday morning, has once again been swatted Thursday morning as well. Her life was once again put in danger. All of that and more after these brief messages, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey freethinkers, Chandler here, and welcome to the brand new one-of-a-kind commercial break. Here on the Chandler Crump channel, we pride ourselves on straight-talking nature, adherence to facts, resistance to media programming, and a loyalty to the red, white, and blue, above all. These live shows are what I consider to be my job, and I only get paid on tips around here. So if you think I've done a good job or want to encourage me to do even better, then check out the description of this video and go to donorbox.org/support-Chandler. This is our donation processor and the one-stop shop to support all things Chandler. If you choose to, you can even have your name appear on stream to flaunt that you support our show. This is, of course, the illustrious Hall of Heroes bar above me. Another path to the Hall of Heroes is, of course, Cash App. My Cash App code is $ChandlerCR, and it's visible on every one of my streams. Thank you guys so much. Now, let's get back to the show.
I do want to give a huge shout out to our current Hall of Heroes bar above us, Anita J and Mark Cook, who have both been longtime supporters, at least for a few years now. So big shout outs to them, and also shout out to any and everybody else who has supported us and donated to support the show on Odyssey. Thick Chris says, "Aren't you on Odyssey?" I meant to supported us here in this show. Aren't you on Odyssey? I do have a channel on Odyssey, and all my streams go up there, but I do not live stream on Odyssey as of now. So they only go up when they are after the stream. So you can check out all my streams over on odyssey.com and look up Chandler. My mood has dropped on the show heavily because I just received some terrible news on Truth Social here. So I'm going to pull this up for you guys real quick. It's funny that I was just talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. Some breaking news has just come out about Kyle Rittenhouse. If I can find, there it is. This comes from the Media Accountability Project over on Truth Social. Kyle Rittenhouse is now being sued by, I forget his first name, but Huber's father, one of the people that Kyle Rittenhouse had to shoot during the Black Lives Matter protests in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Was it? No, not Waukesha. It was, I'm forgetting the name of it. I such painful things. I want to put them behind us all, but the Kyle Rittenhouse shootings, all that madness. He is now being sued. So he's been named in a civil lawsuit filed by Huber's father. Kyle was found not guilty by a jury of his peers. However, the unanimous verdict did not prevent Kyle from being added as a defendant in an erroneous lawsuit filed in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. Please consider supporting Kyle once again as his fight against the liberal machine has been prolonged. Donations are sent directly to Kyle. I've been corrected. It's Kenosha. Thank you for the correction in the background. Kenosha. It's just, I hate this so much. This kid has done nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. And they just can't leave him alone. He just wants to live his life. He just wants to get out there. He wants to go to college, but his name cannot be taken out of the media. It gets trending on Twitter every couple of weeks. He just wants to stay peaceful. Honestly, he's been through enough. This kid is only a few months older than me, and they can't leave him alone. So I'm gonna move on. I've told you guys about this. It's just straight up disgusting. It is just terrible stuff, and people are putting all the stuff in the comments about it, countersuit, people, all those good things, definitely. But I hope we all need to rally behind Kyle Rittenhouse with all this madness. I know it's all about who Kyle is. People still believe Kyle is a racist white supremacist who went out and shot black people when 0 of the people he shot were people of color or anything. It's weird that they suddenly care when white people kill white people, and they suddenly care when black people kill black people when it's politically charged. But it's a whole mess. I don't even want to get into it right now, but that's the story right there. Check out TMAP over on Truth Social. Give them a follow, and let's all support Kyle Rittenhouse. The GiveSendGo link is right here, givesendgo.com/Kyle Rittenhouse. The fundraiser just started. That's at $270. I am proud to be an early adopter of this within the first half hour. We're going to be posting this out there large. I'm going to be making a TikTok about this right after the show ends. But guys, share this all around. Kyle Rittenhouse, he needs our help once again. We all need to all get out there and help our boy out. This is just straight up madness. People are already getting in there within the last few minutes. This is big. All right, so there's the news right there. We're going to touch on this Marjorie Taylor Greene thing now, but once again, let's get out there. Let's defend Kyle. He does not deserve this. He really does not. Anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene was once again swatted for the second time in the past 2 days. And who knows, it might even happen again tonight. Just straight up nonsense. But let's jump into the story real quick here. And also shout out to all the people in the chat. I know we have somebody talking about voting out Republicans in the midterms. I think it's hilarious. Thick Chris says, the FBI drone video exonerated Kyle, proved it was self-defense. This was anticipated. Any civil suit will be defeated easily. I sure hope you're right. I really do. Police responded to a false 911 call at the home of Marjorie Taylor Greene early Thursday morning. The second swatting call targeting the Republican Congresswoman in just 2 days. 2 officers showed up to Greene's home in Rome, Georgia, after receiving a call at 3 a.m. Thursday about a male possibly shooting his family members and then himself, according to a report from the police. The suspect, who called through an internet chat that appeared to be a suicide crisis line, falsely told police responders that a man came out as transgender and claimed they shot the family at Green's address. If anyone tried to stop me from shooting myself, I will shoot them, said the caller. They would be waiting for us, said who was what the officers gave the name Wayne Green, and warned that they would be waiting for us, according to the police report. The officers went to Green's home and met her at the front door, where they explained the situation, the report said. They confirmed this was a second false report. Officers could not see a location using the suicide chat line due to the person using a VPN. The department said it was working with the U.S. Capitol Police on the investigation, which remains active. Green revealed in a tweet Thursday morning that she was swatted again last night. Just insane. Just insane. Her spokesman, Nick Dyer, told CNBC he could confirm the incident. Our number one concern is the safety of Congresswoman Green and her family, read a statement from Green's office, which described the calls as violent crimes, even though no violence occurred. The far-right lawmaker who represents Georgia's 14th is supported by former President Trump and was targeted in the first swatting call around 1 a.m. on Wednesday by an alleged opponent of her stance on transgender rights. The caller falsely claimed that a man had been shot multiple times in a bathtub at Green's residence. Afterward, the department received a second call from the suspect, who was using a computer-generated voice as a claim responsibility for the incident, said about transgender youth rights, etc., etc. We've heard about all this. This is terrible. How many times are they going to let it keep happening before somebody finally gets the word and is like, okay, let's put this house on our list and stop getting out there and knocking on our door. No more.
FBI, open up!
Absolutely. We need to stop. We've got to stop it. Green later Thursday morning railed against media outlets that have criticized her politics on transgender issues. Those media companies, they're responsible for trying to get me killed by those horrific headlines. The disgusting left, MSNBC and NBC's, putting headlines up there that I'm targeting trans kids. That is the biggest lie, and I should sue them for saying such things, Green said. Well, I think both Marjorie Green and Kyle Rittenhouse both need to get out there and sue these people who are putting their lives in danger, and sue these people who are trying to destroy them. That goes for Huber's father. That goes for all the Kenosha people, all that madness. That goes for these people who are calling the police on Marjorie Taylor Greene, all that madness. It needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. But unfortunately, all the White House seems to be interested in is calling out Marjorie Taylor Greene for the PPP loans that she accepted. This is something that we need to pay attention to. Now, the White House, quote, tweets some random account, which is very interesting, an internet hooligan. I didn't even notice this, but this is the official @WhiteHouse account. Probably some teenage, college student, whatever, who's got a whole lot of power in the White House, which, hey, I feel it. I hope to be there someday soon as well. But for now, they're wielding it in an interesting way. So people like Marjorie Taylor Greene have been calling out the, what do we call it, the college bailouts that we've seen right now, costing the average American, average taxpayer, $2,000 per household per taxpayer. And it's going to cost up to $230 billion. Yes, that is.
Billions!
With a B. Trump said it best. Costing the federal government. Once again, the federal government makes diddly squat. It's all coming from us. So that's a whole lot of money. Meanwhile, the White House is making a comparison about this, comparing it to the PPP loans, which were given because people lost jobs and the government forcibly shut down the country and the economy froze and entered into basically a depression. So of course, this money needed to go out. People had the choice to accept this. It's not a comparison at all, and everybody else is already seeing this. It is intellectually dishonest to compare the PPP loans to anything even close to the college things. Now, I think the PPP loans were stupid because the lockdowns were stupid, because COVID was stupid. All we needed to do was let these people work, let our economy continue. And those that needed to be safe needed to stay home, use all these different delivery services, and socially distance. But those that valued getting out there and working, getting out there and supporting their families through the pandemic, instead of their companies being forced to shut them down, should have had that option. But no, the PPP loans had to happen. And now the White House is being like, well, here's how much money you had in loans forgiven. Well, that was just Marjorie Taylor Greene. They also called out Vern Buchanan, who is a congressman with $2.3 million, which is just insane. Mark Wayne Millen, 1.4. It goes on and on. And you know what? If I was the White House and if I was on that side of things, I would have done the exact same thing, but probably a whole lot sooner when we were talking about this, even before the thing actually came out. So the White House is making a pretty savage thing, if I do say so myself, so much so that it actually caused them to trend. And we're going to check real quick. I think that might still be trending. Yeah, the words "the White House" is trending because everybody is calling them out for it. But also the White House, it's a pretty big thing. Ben Shapiro says, so it is now the White House's position that if the government forces you to shut down your business and provides you with compensation to keep people employed, that's the same thing as you failing to pay the college loans you voluntarily took. Genius. And for once, I'm going to say, Ben Shapiro, good point. I'll put it out there. Greg Price says, to make the case for taking money from the working class and giving it to grad school alumni, the White House dunks on people who took PPP loans, the purpose of which were to pay employees who would have been laid off due to the government forcibly shutting them down. This is the difference between the, dare I say, the Trump administration and the Biden administration. See, the Biden administration is going to take from the pockets of the working man, take from the pockets of the middle class, and give to these snotty brats and the people who I guess since then have grown up past and have, college debt from years ago and just couldn't find their way to pay it and are now taking that money, giving it to them. Meanwhile, the Trump administration took money, sadly, a redistribution of wealth, I'm not into it, but took money from whatever the federal government stashes they have, which is still taxes, and essentially gave it back to the American people indirectly by giving it to the companies and allowing the companies to keep these people employed and not lay them off. Which I'd say is a good thing. It's basically giving some of those tax dollars back. Now, it's still technically redistribution of wealth because it's still going to people and, it could balance it. Elon Musk paid a whole lot of money in taxes, and I don't think he got all that much back from the PPP loans, but I could be wrong. Tesla might have had something to deal with it. So it was a okay program. It was the best thing you could do while shutting down the entire country for a pandemic. So that really shows you the stark difference between these two administrations. So much so that it's going to be a big trend, and Ben Shapiro is going to trend for talking about it. A lot of people are bringing this point up. Even I had to jump on the bandwagon, and I quoted my own tweet a minute ago, but I'll show it to you guys on the screen just to also remind you guys to follow me on Twitter. But I say it is intellectually dishonest to compare loan programs related to a pandemic and nationwide shutdown to student loans for a college degree. I mean, what are we talking about?
Stop the cap.
Nope.
Seriously, this is dumb. But nope, student loans, we need to give everybody 10 grand so that they can be free. And Mr. Mike in the chat can be like, well, God bless Biden, hallelujah, I got 10 grand, even though you probably have a whole lot more than that at this point to pay off on student loans. I mean, you had to pay a lot of money for that gender studies degree, am I right? Come on. That's a lot of money to spend. But unfortunately, this mess with college and loans and all that, unfortunately, it does not stop there. Now, thankfully, when it comes to public school, there don't seem to be a lot of loans involved. Of course, it is still paid for by all of us, still paid for by the federal government, the taxpayer. Let me just correct you there. But unfortunately, no matter where you are, it seems that local people may have a whole lot more power than you would think. Because the DC mayor has now announced that people that are unvaccinated, specifically teenagers, will not be allowed to return to school this after Labor Day when schools start back up in DC. So you are being discriminated against based off of your vaccination status. This story is insane, and it really harkens back to an era that I thought we were past in this country. An era of segregation based off of something that happened to you rather than who you are, the content of your character, something that I thought we fought for, something that I thought DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, who is, by the way, a black woman, would care a whole lot more about than, say, some little jab, which it seems no matter how many you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, you still seem to be able to catch COVID from. Ain't that interesting? That article and more after the break. We'll be right back after these brief messages from our sponsor. Don't go anywhere.
Hey freethinkers, Chandler here. Have you ever worried for you and your loved one's data being taken online, like your social security number or bank information? Well, it's not an irrational fear. It's all totally possible. But I'm here to tell you there's a solution to that problem. The solution? It's called dataseal.io. For one monthly or annual plan for you or even your household, you can have DataSeal systematically scan and remove your information from the internet. So if you're interested, hit the link in the description or go to dataseal.io and use code CRUMP, that is code CRUMP, at checkout for a discount on your subscription. Now, let's get back to the show.
Shout out to all of the people who are tuning in with us in the building. I think I saw a message earlier from Thick Chris who said he used code CRUMP when I bought some of my pillows. Code gave me buy one get one free. Ooh, that is a fire deal. Although we didn't just play the MyPillow ad, you can check out dataseal.io and make sure you use code CRUMP at checkout for that, which is yet another great deal which will help you sleep better at night because it protects your data from being stolen on the internet. But you can also get your hands on a pillow to sleep better on as well. So once again, make sure you go to mypillow.com, and I know I've got the pillow laying around here somewhere. See what I did there? Laying around. I think it's somewhere else in the room. But either way, I have one of these pillows myself, sleep on them every night, and I'm probably going to be getting even more soon, as well as some My Pillow sandals. Oh man, they always got some new stuff. So make sure you use code CRUMP over there. Sometimes to even get a buy one get one free deal. So make sure you check it out once again, mypillow.com or mystore.com, and use code CRUMP for your discount today. Shout out to you, Thick Wrist, for that one. I appreciate you always showing up in the building for me. But now it's time to get into this last story here. This is just straight up insane. We'll read the headline. DC mayor says no virtual learning and is giving unvaccinated black teens 0 alternative options. Now, I don't know why it's necessary to specifically call out black teens, but you'll see the numbers in a second. And DC is a very black place, so you're going to want to check this out and talk about the numbers here. The DC says the District of Columbia, to be more grammatically correct, does not appear to have a contingency plan for unvaccinated students who are banned from attending schools in person this fall after the first 20 days, according to the comments by Muriel Bowser. During a press conference, Bowser, who is a proud Democrat, admitted there are no alternative options, including virtual learning, for students who cannot attend school due to the district's vaccine mandate, meaning unvaccinated children will effectively be left without an education, aka second-class citizens. Over 40% of black people ages 12 to 17 are not vaccinated, according to city data within DC. Over 40% of kids aged 12 to 17. I would fall into that 40% if I were there. And I think a whole lot more people that were there would fall into that. Over 40%. The Daily Signal asked Bowser what the plan was for unvaccinated students. DC public schools start Monday. Bowser responded, they can go to school on Monday, but they need to get their vaccinations, and their families will be alerted as to the dates. Students get 20 days to provide their vaccination certificate, and the Office of the State Superintendent of Education for DC announced that all students must have up-to-date immunization certification on file with the school within 20 days, or they will not be allowed to attend school or school activities until that certification is secured by the school. The office then continued that if the student does not come into compliance within 20 days, the school must remove the student from the school until the immunization certificate is secured. When pressed on whether or not unvaccinated children would have to use virtual learning, Bowser said, we're not offering remote learning for children, and families will need to comply with what is necessary to come to school. Updated data from the government's vaccine numbers website shows 47% of black children in the district ages 12 to 15 had not completed their primary vaccination series necessary to go back to school in person. 47%. And among teens in that area aged 16 to 17 that are black, 42% are still unvaccinated. On August 25th, press conference from the District of Columbia, or press release, I should say, from the District of Columbia's public school website reads, the Coronavirus Immunization of School Students and Early Childhood Workers Amendment Act of 2021, which the council passed then, requires students ages 12 in order to be vaccinated against COVID in order to attend school. In addition to the vaccination requirement, the release states that all students and staff will need to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test before the start of the school year. The Daily Signal reached out to Bowser's office, but did not immediately receive a response. This is how our country falls apart. Now, thankfully, it seems like at this point, the vaccine stuff might slowly start to roll back as people are beginning to say, well, it was all Trump's fault for the vaccines, because there seem to be some less than stellar things coming out about it. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that maybe another time, because we are running out of time on this evening's show. But I still think this is a very terrible precedent to set. Colleges did it all throughout 2020 and 2021 with the vaccine mandates and things of that nature. And now it's even trickling down to public schools. If your child, let's say 12 years old, is a 6th or 7th grader, they might not be able to continue along until they get that Fauci ouchie in their arm. And more than half of the students in that district that more than likely will be going to public school will not be able to continue. This is bad. Let's say we have 20% of parents that are, I'll say, quote unquote, responsible that get out there and increase that from 47 to 77. There you go, 77%. That is still almost, and not nearly there, but still a very good amount, almost a fourth of kids that would not be able to go to school, public school. All because they could not go out there and get a Fauci ouchie in their arm. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And that's just the way things have to be. I think that shows you just how bad things can get when we let these tyrants run our country, when we let these tyrants run even our cities, like the District of Columbia, and run them into the ground with all their rules and regulations that seem to do nothing but hurt the people that vote for them. The question is, why do they continue? And by they, I mean, why do the voters and their constituents continue to vote for the people that have not their best interests at heart. Not their best interests. I don't know. That's the question I have to ask, and I leave that with you all, ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up the show tonight. Thank you guys so much for being tuned in with us. Shout out to all of our Hall of Heroes. I'm going to make sure I'm not missing out on any. Shout out to all the folks who were tuned in with us over on Rumble. Somebody was dropping the salt emojis in the chat. I love to see it. Somebody says, "Ree," with the salt emojis. Awesome. And shout out to all of our folks, last but not least, on YouTube. I appreciate you all. Make sure you guys are, of course, following me on all of our great alternative platforms like Parler and Truth Social, where we found the story today. If you want to follow me on Parler, it is just my Parler profile, and it's just at Chandler Crump. So just go to Parler. If you have an account from before, it is still available. You just have to sign back in, get all your stuff set back up. Parler is, of course, operating, so all great stuff. Platform works great. Follow me over on Parler at Chandler Crump, or just at Chandler, I should say. And I'm also on Truth Social, also just at Chandler. So you can follow me. You'll see me. You'll know it's my account with this little tick here. Also the same thing on Parler with these badges and this profile picture, of course, as well. So follow me on all those places. And you can also subscribe to us over on Rumble, where all of our content is proudly hosted. No restrictions or anything. If I ever see something a little spicy on a stream, we just take it down from YouTube and leave it up on Rumble. So you can check all of my streams without fail over on Rumble. It is linked in the description of the channel. Aside from all that, I'll catch you guys next time, free thinkers. This time next week on Tuesday, and then again also on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and again on Mondays and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. You don't want to miss out. Peace out, y'all, and don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Have a good night.
Into the light we go, into the light.